Every patient is patient specific in terms of the parameters of when they're ready to eat and drink. We don't love to say like, oh, there's ideal parameters of ventilator modes, respiratory rate, inspiratory pressure, expiratory pressure, because it really needs to be based on the patient and their level of functioning and kind of what our inpatient rehab goals are. Are they going to be a long-term ventilator patient? Are we trialing weaning too? Because if we're trialing weaning, that's going to be a whole nother story. Now we have two sets of goals, the weaning and the strengthening for eating and drinking. So kind of going off of that, we would identify if the modes of ventilation would be safe to start the PO trials. We would optimize the aerodigestive system as much as we can safely. So that next step would be trialing a one-way valve. Here at Mary Free Bed, we do use the Passimir speaking valve inline. That would be an evaluation with the SLP, the speech language pathologist, and a respiratory therapist to see if the patient could safely tolerate the speaking valve. And then what I would say is the next step is if all of this is going well and we don't have any regression, no major increase of lung, pulmonary, or upper airway secretions that are impacting their safety over the course of the day, then we would take the next step of going to the gold standard of an instrumental swallow study. So we would either do a FEES at bedside, which is a tiny flexible camera that goes into your nose and can kind of hover above the airway and identify laryngeal tissues and movements, airway protection during the swallow, or the 2D image in radiology, the modified barium swallow. So either way, we would complete an instrumental first, and then we would probably initiate a controlled plan of care. Most of time, what that looks like is if their system is doing well over the course of a day, the instrumental cleared us as, okay, we're safe to start some type of oral diet. We would kind of like titrate up and build endurance over time. So that might be a skilled, supervised one meal only with respiratory standby and a speech pathologist for maybe 20 minutes max. Then we'd kind of huddle check with the interdisciplinary team and see how it's going, and then move up from there. Maybe they can tolerate 2 meals after that, and then titrate all the way up to, okay, full oral feedings as tolerated.
And so as we're introducing, more food and more meals, we're looking at their respiratory mechanics to say, are they having an increase in O2 needs? Are they having an increase in ventilatory needs, to really try to dial it in specific to the patient? Different than other things in medicine, this isn't something that we have a lab test that says, hey, this is the answer and this is the right thing to do. A lot of it is, sort of trying something and then reassessing it and reevaluating it to say, we're moving in the right direction, our oxygen saturations are stable, and introducing the next step in the care. I do feel like, as Kate was saying, that, some of these instrumental tests or more invasive tests are helpful because sometimes what we see clinically may be a little bit different than what we're actually seeing functionally as they're in their recovery process. So that, that FEES test is really helpful for us to say, yep, we're headed in the right direction, we're doing the right thing, and there aren't any concerns, or there are concerns moving forward.
And there are so many different components that could be impacting someone's performance during a rehab stay. So it's just really hard to tease out, I think, sometimes during the healing process, because they might have had a really intensive day in physical therapy. So now in the afternoon, are they tired from this intensive physical therapy day because we're titrating up on PT goals, or are they fatiguing because we just increased their PO needs? So having that objective measure of the FEES that we have access to as that consistent objective measure really gives us a way to quantify, and so we're not playing the guessing game.